Hey guys!
Hey everybody, and welcome to Wisdom Wednesday, episode number 7. Wisdom Wednesday with Sam and Ray, episode number 7. And I do want to apologize up front. You're only going to get to see this side of my face today because I'm driving. I'm keeping my eyes on the boat, and Sam will be holding the phone. But today we want to talk about a principle or an idea that is lost on a lot of people today. And it's the idea that, it's typically a lack of resourcefulness, not a lack of resources, okay? There's typically never a lack of resources. It's typically always a lack of resourcefulness. And this is a lesson that Samantha and I learned, and all of our Naval Academy friends learned. Well, Sam and I learned it over a dozen years ago, actually in the first week of our plebe summer. So our first week in the military at the United States Naval Academy. And they taught us this principle through a story. And the story is it really happened. The story is called A Message to Garcia. Now, it's about 115 page book, which I highly recommend you read. However, I'll give you the down and dirty, quick version of the story, and then Samantha will tell you how we apply it to our lives today. Now, back in 1899, tensions were rising between the Spanish and the United States, and a hotbed for this was in Cuba. And the leader of the Cuban rebels, who we needed to coordinate with, went by the name of Garcia. He was a leader of the Cuban rebels. And President McKinley realized that we needed to find Garcia and coordinate with him. However, it was 1899, no cell phones, no emails, no phones. He couldn't just pick up the phone and call this guy in the middle of the jungle in Cuba. So he asked somebody who could get this done, who could link us up with this guy Garcia. And someone recommended a lieutenant by the name of Rowan. They said, if anybody can get this job done, it's this guy. So President McKinley tasked Lieutenant Rowan to go find Garcia and link up with him somewhere in the jungle. He said, "Roger that, sir," and was on his way. 4 days later, he was hopping off a little boat off the coast of Cuba, and a week later, he emerged on the other side of the jungle and found Garcia. All right, he got it done. He didn't ask President McKinley for a ton of resources. He didn't say, what does Garcia look like? How can I find him? He said, "Roger that, sir." And 4 days later, he hopped off a boat and was going through a jungle he'd never been to before to find Garcia, and he got the job done. Now, Lieutenant Rowan, he was a very resourceful man. And the reason we teach this at the Naval Academy to, these midshipmen is so that when they're second lieutenants in the Marine Corps and ensigns in the Navy, when a problem arises, before they go up with their problem and complain to someone else, "Hey, I have this problem," we teach them this principle so that they exhaust all the resources at their fingertips, okay? And in doing so, they learn lessons, but they exhaust all the resources at their fingertips before they go out and ask for help from other people above them in their chain of command. And by the same token, in turn, our second lieutenants and our ensigns teach our junior sailors and Marines to apply the same principle, handling at the lowest level possible with all the resources available. So how does that apply to today, dear?
Yeah, absolutely. I had to have my historian give that first because he's better on the details.
And you may want to fact check me. It's been a while since
I think I know somebody who could. I see one of our classmates. Hey, Chris. He probably could fact check us, fellow Marine. Yeah. And hey, everybody. Thanks so much for jumping on. How does this apply in our lives? Well, as entrepreneurs, for certain, you have to have resourcefulness. You have to have that commitment to get something done and to figure out a way. But really, Ray and I have found that principle applies in everything that we do in our life, whether it's raising our children and figuring out the best way to raise them, how to do a budget in the household, how to be smart with our finances, how to prepare, anything in our life, how to be better in our health. And I just think it's amazing that we live in this era, this time in history that has never happened before, an information era, where we have every single thing you could possibly need to solve a person's problems at our fingertips, literally. Google is a wonderful thing. You can almost answer any question that you have with Google or by clicking a button and asking Siri, right? Just talking to your phone. And never before have we had such access to information that people didn't have access to before. For instance, if you want to change your health or if you want to know better health practices or want to know anything medically, we have about the same access now to medical information and health new information as doctors, researchers, nutritionists, dietitians, fitness instructors. We have those resources, guys. I mean, the internet's a powerful thing. We have the same access to information that top financial investors around the world have information to. We have access to information about how to teach our children or how to live like the saints. We can enhance our faith practices by exploring the Bible and the life of the saints. Like, we have access to every single resource you could possibly need in life at the touch of a button, at the click of Google or podcasts or a book. Libraries are still free, and just about every successful person or every millionaire there ever was, typically either they wrote an autobiography or somebody wrote about them. So you can find answers to just about any problem you've got going on in life. The question is, are you going to use your resourcefulness and find those answers? And we would suggest that it's not a lack of resources. It's a lack of you committing, and all of us committing, to taking responsibility for what's going on in our lives and finding a way to get it done. And we just recommend that before you go either complain about your problems or, lay them off on somebody else, or, ask your boss, well, how do I do this? Or ask your mentor, how do I do this? Or ask your parents, like us. Sometimes we want to still go to our parents, but no, we should be able to figure things out on our own, right? We've got the resources. We just have to be resourceful. So by all means, if you feel like you've exhausted all of those options, you've done a really great job at exhausting all of your resources and trying to solve the problem on your lowest level, then don't be crazy. At that point, seek help. Ask us. We would love to help if we can. Ask a mentor, ask your boss, ask your parents. They still have a lot of wisdom to share. But we just want to empower you to take responsibility, be resourceful, and use the resources at hand, which in 2017 we have more now at our fingertips than we ever have in human history. So,
absolutely. And guys, in doing so, not only are you going to probably be able to solve a lot of the problems you're dealing with right now, but also you're going to learn skills. You're going to become more valuable to those around you, and in doing